All right, guys, thanks for joining me once again. I have a little bit of extra time in my hands, so I thought I'd just make a little sit down and talk video. One of the things that's on my mind ever so much lately, and everybody else's, is the rising cost of everything. And it's not anything new. This is not groundbreaking news. It's happening all over the place. Inflation is just out of control. And yet, you know, we blame politics and everything else that goes along with that. And certainly some of the blame is to be laid on that. But there's a lot of opportunistic businesses and individuals out there that I believe have the mindset of, well, you guys are paying through the nose for everything else. And you're just doing it. You're putting up with it. So we're going to do the same thing. And it's just ridiculous. It's almost morbid. And it frustrates me to no end. In Florida here, insurance rates are through the roof, and a lot of people are leaving based solely on insurance reasons. Insurance rates on homes are too high. On cars, it's doubling. Mine did on a secondary car of ours, not our new one, but our other one. It just went up. It just doubled, almost doubled. Probably went up 80%. Now it's not a lot. It's not a lot of money. But if you look at the percentage, if you base it on the percentage, how much it went up, you have to go, why? What's changed? I did that this morning. I called Liberty Mutual, and they've always been really good to me. And my insurance rate went up by 80%. No notification or anything. Just arbitrary. Meh. So I called them up and I said, listen, I know this is probably useless, but why? I mean, really, it's an old car. Nothing's changed. There's nothing on our record. Nothing. I'm a 54-year-old man. Well, rates went up everywhere for everybody in the state of Florida. Yeah, you know, I get that. But there are some companies that are not quite following suit. I mean, they're far and few between, don't get me wrong. But they're competitive. They are playing ball. I mean, you can shop around. Believe me, I know. You know, I do. I'm a firm believer in calling 3 or 4 companies before you settle on one. And some of the ranges are very large. So, yeah, I know they're playing ball. So why? Wait. Well, they just, you know, it's just the way it is. Basically, is what I get told, and it just makes me so irritated. Yeah, you know, insurance and taxes just really gripe me to no end. We're getting ripped off left and right on just those two things, and not just on those two things, but I mean, these are some heavy duty culprits that we're talking about here. And yeah, but you know, there's a lot of wacky kinds of insurance out there, and I actually made a whole video one time on what they call the change of heart policy, where people who are in love and engaged to be married, they can get a change of heart policy to recoup some of their cost, some of their loss. So should somebody change their mind midstream? You know, I'm talking about like, you know, planning weddings, leaving the altar, money that is spent on, you know, caterers and stuff. You can get a lot of this stuff back. It's a change of heart policy. I'm not going to go back into that again, but I'm going to talk about a couple other weird ones. But there's one called, well, I don't know what it's called. Here's one. This is insurance against a loss of a nose. Here's what it says in this book that I've been reading. A lot of fascinating, trivial information. Winemaker Ilya Gort makes his living from his nose. He relies on it to test for quality at his French vineyard. Tasting wine is something you do with your nose, not with your mouth, he explains. So when he heard about a car accident victim who lost his sense of smell, Gort decided to have his nose insured against a career-ending injury for $8 million. I've heard of stuff like this before. I mean, it sounds weird, but it's very personal to them. I mean, they think it's worth it. So anyway, he got his nose insured for $8 million. Lloyd's of London, who else would do that, right? Lloyd's of London wrote the policy and added a few unusual provisions. For example, if he wants his mustache trimmed, Gort is only allowed to go to experienced barbers with steady hands. If you hear that, that's a sandhill crane. I love the way they sound. Anyway, riding a motorcycle, no, you can't do that. Boxing, not permitted. Being a fire breather or working as a knife thrower's assistant would also void his policy. So there you go. Yeah, I know this doesn't have a whole lot to do with anything, but I thought it was kind of funny. I mean, strange, odd. You might want to know. Here's another insurance policy against alien abduction. Now, we hear all sorts of things about UFOs. They don't even call them that anymore. I can't remember what they call them, but anyway. Yeah, we hear about them all the time. It's becoming quite prevalent, and there's all sorts of theories that are postulated, and I have mine. I have my theories about UFOs. Anyway, there's a British insurance company called Goodfellow Rebecca Ingrams Pearson. That's what it's called. It's called GRIP for short, so that's how it will be referred to from here on out. GRIP offered coverage against abduction, impregnation, or attack by aliens. And GRIP claimed to have written policies for 4,000 alien-fearing people worldwide. One of those policies was written for the Heaven's Gate religious cult. Surely you remember them, right? In 1996, Heaven's Gate paid $10,000 for a policy to cover up to 50 of its members. Man, that's annoying. I love the way they sound, but they're getting annoying. The terms of the policy: in the event of alien abduction, the insurer would pay $1 million per abductee. 6 months later, 39 cult members killed themselves in San Diego, California, believing that their souls would board an alien spaceship once they'd shed their earthly containers. Boy, that really made the news back then, didn't it? There was no evidence that having the policy contributed to the mass suicide, but GRIP very quickly left the alien insurance market anyway, for a while. Greed got the better of us, and we resumed them. GRIP's managing partner Simon Burgess told the San Francisco Examiner in 1998, "I've never been afraid of parting the feeble-minded from their cash." Let me say that again. This is what Simon Burgess said. He said, "I've never been afraid of parting the feeble-minded from their cash." And that's what my gripe is about these companies. I feel like they think we're really stupid. The truth is, they probably don't really care what we think or how we feel or our level of aptitude or how intelligent we are. They don't care. They just know they can squeeze a muscle and they're going to do it. And it's just taking advantage of people. There's all sorts of people in this world that take advantage of all kinds of people in every sort of way. And a lot of times it feels like you can't do a whole lot about it. So anyway, I read something else that I thought was thought-provoking. In 2011, the government of Liechtenstein listed the country on Airbnb for $70,000 a day. You could get Liechtenstein for $70,000 a day on Airbnb. Oddly enough, they had no takers. No takers. Now, I wondered why. So I looked up pictures. That's the first thing I did. I looked up images of Liechtenstein, and I thought this place is beautiful. I don't know. From everything I've seen, I haven't done a real extensive or thorough search of images of Liechtenstein, but it looked beautiful to me. I'd like to go. Can I go now? I mean, I don't have $70,000. I don't need to rent it, but I was thinking to myself, if I had $70,000, if that was a drop in the bucket for me, I think I'd do it. But what are the conditions? Does everybody have to leave? Can we keep all the beautiful women? Lots of free wine, champagne? Then that would be a deal. That would be a heck of a deal. I hope you're enjoying that because they're enjoying this. But why do they have no takers? So I just thought to myself, I don't know. I haven't researched this, but several thoughts went through my mind. Is it because they're asking too much? $70,000? I don't know. I kind of doubt it, but maybe some people think so. It's certainly out of my price range, so I couldn't be one of the takers. But there's be some people that could. What would you do with it? You know, maybe it's asking too much if the return of investment is low, right? Or maybe they're not, maybe they're offering too much. Maybe they're offering too much. If what you're offering is too much and there's too many options, then what do you do with something like that? And that's probably the question that went through a lot of people's heads. It probably left them scratching their heads going, huh? What? I mean, what do I get from that? What changes? What really changes? I can't help but ponder these things and ask myself, how does this apply to life, right? How does this apply to life? When we want something, maybe we should be asking, I can't get over here. I can't get over these birds, man. They don't start until I decide to make a video. Anyway, so at least it's not a lawnmower. So anyway, I got to thinking about this and thought, when we want something from somebody or from something, how are we asking? What are we offering? Are we offering too much? Are we offering too little? Are we asking too much? Or maybe to some people, Liechtenstein, $70,000, it sounded like you maybe weren't asking enough. So what's the ripoff here? There's got to be a balance of give and take. There's got to be a balance of in the offering. You know what I mean? It's got to make sense to people. And sometimes what people offer us isn't enough. That kind of goes back to this whole insurance thing. You know how much we pay them every year? What do we get in return? Doesn't seem like a whole lot. And I think there's a lot of us, if we had our way, none of us would be takers. Anyway, getting back to this whole thing with Liechtenstein, I would love to visit there based on what I've seen, with the little I've seen so far. Have you ever been there? Leave a comment down below. I'd like to know what your thoughts are. There's got to be somebody out there in YouTube land watching this who has been there. But anyway, I thought that was interesting. A country that ended up on Airbnb. When you're looking to offer your services or to maybe get employed somewhere or sell a product, make sure that the asking and the offering balance out. And when you want something, you don't seem to be able to get it in any aspect of life, maybe ask for a little less. Make sure, sometimes it's good to ask for something small so that you can get something big later. I don't know, just a thought that went through my mind. It is something that I do keep in mind anytime I seek out something. How much should I ask for? And what do I have to offer in return? Anyway, so I was reading about this story. It's kind of long and drawn out. I won't give you the whole thing. It's pretty fascinating. But this has to do with a church in Germany during World War II. Here's the short of the story, and I got a point to make about this. This is the first part of this is titled "The Miracle of Marienkirche." I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but Marienkirche. All right, on March 28th, 1942, the German port city of Lübeck was nearly obliterated by Allied bombers during World War II. More than 230 British planes dropped 400 tons of bombs, destroying thousands of homes, the town hall, the merchant district, and several churches dating back 7 centuries, including the huge Gothic cathedral known as the Marienkirche, Church of Mary. The bombing created a firestorm so hot that the church bells melted. After the raid ended and townspeople began to assess the damage, a remarkable discovery was made in the Marienkirche. The intense heat had also melted dozens of layers of paint off the walls. Underneath that paint, frescoes, a style of painting in which pigment is applied directly onto a wet plaster wall. The paintings of saints, biblical scenes, and religious icons dated back to the 1250s, when the church was built. After what was dubbed the miracle of the Marienkirche, the town quickly came together to erect a temporary roof at the cathedral to protect it from further attacks so that the frescoes could be restored when the war was over. whatever that might be. So this story gets pretty fascinating, which I won't share all in detail here, but you hear about all these relics of antiquity that become uncovered when people are doing archaeological work, right? But they expect to find something, at least they hope to. But when a catastrophe takes place, a disaster takes place, and then that uncovers something, that's even more miraculous, right? Because they weren't necessarily looking for it. In fact, sometimes what we discover is that if horrible things didn't happen, if fires didn't rage, if bombs didn't fall in our life, there are some things that would never be uncovered. You have frescoes in your life, right? That sounds so stupid. It really does. We have a restaurant downtown Lakeland called Frescoes. I don't think it necessarily means the same kind of fresco that this is describing. But anyway, yeah, there are things in our lives that become uncovered by disaster, by catastrophes, by dilemmas, by hardship, adversity. The bombs fall, things begin to melt away, and before you know it, whatever is underneath comes out. Hopefully, there is something of value when all is revealed. And that's kind of where I want to go with this. If the veil was pulled back and everything was revealed that was on the inside of you, would there be a lot of value there? You may not think so, depending on what kind of sense of humor you have, or your worldview, or how you were raised, or whatever the case might be. You might just be someone who's very critical of yourself and say, there's not much to me. But we're all very, in some sort of way, we're all very unique. We've all been given a set of circumstances that we've been allowed to live through, to build experiences in our life, to form a mindset that is unique to us, right? And these things, these occurrences happen that develop certain kinds of opinions and thoughts that shape who you are. I hope that when calamity strikes and what is on the inside of you is exposed, I hope that it's a beautiful painting. That's what I hope. Ask yourself that. Who are you when things go wrong? When things really get boiled down, who are you? What, do you shine or do you fade away? Do you fall apart or do you rise to the occasion? That's something worth thinking about. Now, if you hear this and you think to yourself, well, I thought about it, Greg, and I don't really think I've got a whole lot going on in there, you can start building now. Things might be easy for you right now. We have our mountains and we have our valleys. And there's pros and cons to being in either one of those. It's nice to be on the mountaintop, but it's a long fall. Some people don't like being down the valley, but sometimes that's where some of the greatest growth occurs, right? So wherever you fall on the spectrum, if you're not going through a hard time right now, this is the time to cultivate your character, to build your own, to build and form yourself, to find out who you really are, and plan for the long game. It's hard to do that when things are going bad, when the stress is mounting. So you have to do it when things are going good. And when, you might be thinking, things aren't always good for me. We have good times and bad times. Be able to recognize that when things are good, plan for the future, plan for the hard times, so that you can come through them a little bit easier. You can't escape them, but you can navigate the waters a little more readily. There's a difference between holding on. If you're in a maelstrom, if you're in a typhoon and you're on a boat, there's a difference between sitting below deck and crossing your fingers and standing at the helm. There's a big difference, and you get to choose that by shaping yourself. And only you can do that. Only you can do that. That's your choice. But if you're not thinking about your long game, then when the bombs drop and the fires rage and the paint peels away, you may have nothing left to build with, and you may have nothing left to save. Think about that. Think about that. I hope that's meant something to you. I am just rambling. But it might, sometimes when I talk these things out, sometimes it makes sense to me, sometimes I don't come to a conclusion. But I feel like I have today, and I hope that it struck a chord with you. All right, leave your thoughts, your comments, and your questions down below. I would love to address them, and I would love to actually make a separate video doing that. By the way, be looking for a video where I answer a lot of your questions and comments regarding my yeared update. I plan on doing that soon. All right, guys, I need to get going. Lunchtime is creeping up on me. And yeah, it's a really gloomy day out here. It's been raining most of the day. I still feel a few raindrops, so I'm gonna end this video now before I get surprised by a torrential downpour. All right, so yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it. Once again, thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next one. In the meantime, be wise.